I was ready to give up everything for my girlfriend, but she chose her career and the glitz of New York, where there was no place for me. I was left in ruins, my heart torn to pieces. Then, after some time, she came back, begging for forgiveness. What followed was betrayal, threats, revenge. My name's Ethan Carter. I was born in Liberty, Ohio, a small town where time moved slow, like the river behind our house. The streets, cracked and worn, led to a town square with a diner and a church where everyone gathered on Sundays. My dad, Jim, was an electrician, a guy with calloused hands and a tired smile that hid his worries. My mom, Linda, was a librarian, and her soft voice was my safe haven when I'd come home with scraped knees or after fights with the neighborhood kids. Our house, with its peeling paint, was modest but warm, always smelling of my mom's apple pie. Dad used to say, "Ethan, nothing comes for free. Work hard, and you'll make it." Those words became my compass, my anchor. Ironic, considering that's what she'd later call me. In school, I was average, not a star, but not an outcast either. My friends nicknamed me Hammer for my stubbornness. I could spend hours solving a math problem or fixing a bike until I got it right. Football was a hobby, but my heart was in the garage. I'd spend evenings tinkering with my dad's 70s pickup, taking apart the carburetor, greasing parts, breathing in the smell of gasoline, the clank of a wrench, the creak of metal. That was my music, my escape from the world. I felt alive with my hands covered in oil, a dead engine in front of me, waiting to be brought back to life. After high school, I enrolled in a technical college in Cleveland for auto mechanics. The city hit me hard. Noisy streets, crowds, skyscrapers that made my head spin. I felt out of place in the chaos, but the college's workshop was my sanctuary. The smell of oil, the hum of tools, that was my world, where I could breathe. I didn't dream of fame or riches. I wanted to open my own shop, get married, raise kids in a house with a big yard. A simple dream, but it was mine. That clarity kept me grounded until I met her. Sophia Reed came into my life like a bolt of lightning, shattering my quiet world. I first saw her in the campus cafe during my freshman year. She was sitting by the window, frowning at her laptop, dark hair falling over her face. Her beauty wasn't loud, but there was something magnetic about her, an energy that drew every eye in the room. I felt small next to her, like her light outshone everything else. I didn't dare approach her. She seemed too bright, from a different world. But fate threw us together on a group economics project. Her smile disarmed me, and her voice made my heart race. I had no idea then how she'd change my life, and how she'd break it. Sophia was a hurricane, sweeping away everything in her path. Confident, sharp-tongued, she talked about New York like it was the place where dreams came true. "Ethan, that's where life happens. Ad agencies, startups, big money." Her eyes sparkled, and I was drowning in that fire. I was steady, dreaming of a garage, loyal clients, a life that was simple and clear. But her energy was contagious, making me feel like I could be more. I looked at her and saw a future full of light I'd never known before. We started dating in our sophomore year. She stormed into my life, filling it with laughter, arguments, the warmth of her hands. We'd spend evenings talking about everything: politics, movies, our dreams. She loved breakfast at Tiffany's, and I'd tease her that it was girly nonsense, but I watched it with her because her smile was worth it all. I was lost in her gaze, her voice, her scent. Vanilla with a hint of something sweet and elusive. We were different. She craved skyscrapers. I wanted a quiet suburb. But that didn't pull us apart. She taught me to dream bigger, and I helped her slow down, savor the moment. With her, I felt alive, like the world was bursting with new colors. After college, we moved to Cleveland. I got a job as a mechanic at Bob's Auto, and Sophia landed a gig at a marketing agency. We rented an apartment above a pizzeria on West 6th Street, cramped, with a leaky faucet and creaky floors. But it was ours. The smell of basil drifted up from downstairs, mixing with the cheap wine we drank at night. We'd eat pizza on our beat-up couch, dreaming about the future. She talked about building her advertising empire. I talked about a shop with my name on the sign. We promised to support each other, and I believed it was forever. My heart beat to the rhythm of her laughter, and I thought it would always be that way. But shadows started creeping in. Sophia would look at me with a hint of disappointment. "Ethan, don't you want more?" she'd ask, scrolling through job listings in New York. Her words cut like a knife, leaving invisible scars. I'd laugh it off. "You and a wrench are all I need." But doubt took root in my heart, like a weed. I loved my job, our life, her. Wasn't that enough? I didn't know those questions were the first cracks in our foundation. Every glance, every pause in our conversations hit me like a hammer, but I pushed the thoughts away, clinging to her smile, to the hope that we were stronger than that. 2 years later, everything changed. Sophia got a promotion, leading a big project for a restaurant chain. Her eyes lit up, but I could see her pulling away. She'd stay at the office until midnight, come home glued to her phone, lost in work chats. I felt a chill, like a wall had gone up between us. I told myself it was temporary, that her dream was coming true, and I had to support her. But every distant look she gave me was like a jab to the heart, leaving a bleeding wound. Our conversations turned hollow, like echoes in an abandoned house. Dinners together, once full of laughter, became rare. She was there, but her mind was somewhere else, a world where I didn't exist. I tried to fill the silence with jokes, but her smiles grew forced, like a mask hiding the truth. Worry grew like a dark shadow, but I didn't want to be that guy. Jealous, controlling. I trusted her, but inside, everything screamed that I was losing her. My heart beat unevenly, like an engine about to stall. She started going to corporate events, coming back past midnight with a tired smile. I'd ask how the night went, but she'd brush me off. "It's fine, Ethan. I'm just exhausted." I noticed her hiding her phone when I walked into the room. My heart tightened, like it was caught in a vice. I pushed away suspicions, but they came back like waves crashing on a shore. Love blinded me, and I clung to the hope that it was just stress, that she was still mine. One night she came home at midnight, glowing like she did in our early days. "Ethan, I got a job offer in New York." Her voice shook with excitement. Brightstar, an agency, had noticed her project and wanted her to lead a department in Manhattan. I smiled, congratulated her, but inside, everything crumbled. "Does this mean we're moving?" I asked, trying to hide the fear choking me. She hesitated. "I don't know yet. It's a big step. I need to think." Her words hit like a punch. She wasn't thinking about us, just herself. I nodded, but my heart screamed, "She's leaving." My soul was torn between love and fear, and I felt the ground slipping out from under me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, imagining our life in New York. I could find a mechanic job, but the city scared me. Too loud, too foreign. What if she wanted to go without me? That thought burned like acid, eating away at me. I looked at her sleeping face, so beautiful and distant, and felt her slipping away. The love I thought was unbreakable was coming apart at the seams, and I was powerless to save it. A week later, my world collapsed. I came home from work, exhausted, hands smelling of motor oil. Sophia was gone. A note sat on the kitchen table. I picked it up, feeling my blood run cold. My hands shook, my heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. I knew it was over before I even unfolded the paper. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I'm going to New York. This job is my dream, and I can't pass it up. "You're a good guy, but I can't live your life. You're holding me back, and I want to soar. Don't look for me." Sophia. I read the note over and over, not believing my eyes. Every word cut like a knife, plunging into my chest. I was her anchor. She didn't just leave for another city. She left me, our life. Everything we built, nights with wine, dreams of kids, promises, was a lie. I collapsed onto the couch, feeling the world fall apart. My chest tightened, like someone had ripped out my heart. I couldn't breathe. Tears burned my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall. I was crushed, destroyed, but still clung to the hope it was a nightmare. I tried calling her, but she didn't answer. My texts went unread. I wrote, "Please talk to me," but got only silence, cold and merciless. A week later, Sophia's friend Kate told me she was already in New York, living in a Brooklyn loft and conquering the world. Kate looked at me with pity, and that finished me off. I was an obstacle Sophia had cast off like dead weight. My love, my life, everything was trash to her. The apartment became a cage. Her sweater on the chair, her book on the shelf, the faint scent of her perfume in the bathroom. It all screamed of her. I packed her things into a box, but it didn't help. She was in every corner, every memory. I stared at the empty bed and felt like I was drowning in pain. The love I thought was my foundation turned into betrayal, and I didn't know how to go on. My soul was like shattered glass, sharp edges cutting with every move. The next few months were hell. I lived on autopilot. Work, home, sleep. But inside was a void, a black hole swallowing everything. Sophia's words, "You're holding me back," burned like hot iron, scarring my soul. I blamed myself. Was I too simple? Too boring? I'd lie awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, replaying our conversations, searching for where I went wrong. Every moment with her flashed in my mind, her laugh, her warm hands, her promises. And each time, it felt like my heart was being ripped out again. My friends noticed I'd changed. I stopped laughing, stopped going to bars. My best friend Ryan showed up with pizza and beer. He watched me sit in silence, his eyes full of worry. "Ethan, you can't let her break you. She made her choice. Now it's your turn." His words hit home, but I didn't know how to climb out of the darkness. I was like a car with a dead battery. No spark, no movement. My life had stalled, and I was scared I'd never find the strength to start it again. Work became my only escape. I took extra shifts, losing myself in engine repairs. The sound of a wrench, the smell of oil drowned out my thoughts. But at night, in the empty apartment, the pain came back like a tide, washing everything away. I pictured Sophia in New York, in shiny offices with people better than me. I hated myself for those thoughts, but couldn't stop them. Sometimes I'd check her social media, only to find she'd blocked me. It was like a punch to the gut, a reminder I was nothing to her. My soul screamed, but no one heard. I started drinking. Not every day, but more than I should have. Beer at night, whiskey on weekends. It dulled the pain, but mornings brought an even deeper emptiness. I'd look in the mirror and not recognize myself. Pale face, dark circles, eyes full of despair. I was sinking, and no one could throw me a lifeline. I was terrified this darkness was forever, that I'd never find myself again. One day, I went to the diner where Sophia and I used to hang out in college. The smell of coffee and burgers hit me, bringing a flood of memories. I could see us at the corner table laughing over her stories, her hand in mine. I nearly turned around, unable to bear the pain, but then I saw Kate, Sophia's friend, at the counter. She was scrolling through her phone, but gave me an awkward smile when she saw me. I sat down, ordered coffee, and we talked, though every look she gave me felt like a knife in an old wound. Kate said Sophia had called her. Her life in New York wasn't like her social media posts. She was working 20-hour days. Her boss was a tyrant, and her colleagues sabotaged her. She sounded lost, Ethan, Kate said. I stayed quiet, torn between anger and pity. Sophia regretted it, after calling me an anchor. Kate added, she asked about you. Not directly, but I think she misses you. Those words hit like a shock. I'd pictured her in New York, dazzling and successful, but now I saw a different image. Lonely, broken. Part of me wanted to gloat, to savor her failure as revenge for my pain. But another part, the one that still remembered her laugh under the stars, ached with pity. I hated myself for that weakness, for the way her shadow still held me. I thanked Kate and left, but her words stuck in my head like a splinter. What if she came back? Could I forgive her? I wasn't afraid of her. I was afraid of the part of me still clinging to the Sophia who'd been my home. Back home, I found an old email from her, a reminder about concert tickets we'd planned to use. Ethan, being with you feels like home, she'd written. I stared at those words, and the pain came rushing back, like a wave sweeping everything away. My chest tightened. Tears burned my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall. I deleted the email, but I couldn't delete her from my heart. I felt like I was betraying myself, still loving someone who'd destroyed me. My soul was tearing apart, and I didn't know how to piece it back together. One day, while cleaning an old Mustang at the shop, I stumbled across an online ad. A businessman, Jack Harris, was looking for a partner for a high-end auto shop, restoring classic cars. My dream of owning a shop had always been too risky for Sophia. Now, with nothing left to lose, the fear was gone. I felt a spark ignite inside me for the first time in months. This was my chance to prove I wasn't an anchor, that I could build something of my own. My heart raced, like it was waking up from a long sleep. I met Jack at his office. He was in his 50s, with gray hair and a sharp gaze, but his voice carried a passion for cars that resonated with me. I told him about my experience, how I'd restored my dad's pickup at 16, how I'd spent nights studying engines. My words shook with excitement, but I could tell Jack got me. He nodded. You're the guy I need. We struck a deal. I invested my savings and became a co-owner. My heart pounded like I was alive again, like the darkness was giving way to light. That first year was brutal. We worked 14-hour days, hustling for clients. I learned on the fly, business plans, marketing, bookkeeping, things that used to scare me. There were nights I doubted myself, lying awake, thinking I'd made a mistake. The fear of failure choked me, but I'd remember Sophia's words, "You're holding me back," and it pushed me forward. I couldn't let her be right. Every success, a restored Corvette, a happy client, was like a breath of air. The shop, named Carter's Classic Rides, became my salvation. I was coming back to life, but Sophia was still a shadow. I heard from friends she was conquering New York. Those words cut like old wounds, but I was learning to let go, holding tight to my new dream. One day, a client in a fancy suit came in with a 1965 Cadillac. He wanted it restored for his collection. We got to talking, and he mentioned he worked in marketing in New York. My heart skipped a beat, like someone squeezed it. "Do you know Sophia Reed?" I asked, trying to sound casual, but my voice shook. He frowned. "Worked with her at Brightstar. She's talented, but things aren't going great for her." He said Sophia had left the agency after a scandal. She was accused of leaking client data, though there was no proof. Now she was freelancing, but struggling. "New York's tough," he said, his voice tinged with pity. I nodded, but a storm raged inside me. Sophia was failing. Part of me cheered. She got what she deserved. But another part, the one that still heard her laugh, ached. I hated that weakness, that pull back to the past, where I was broken. That night, I told Ryan. He shook his head. "Ethan, that's not your problem. She chose her path." But I couldn't stop thinking about it. What if she came back? Why? I wasn't afraid of her. I was afraid of the part of me still waiting for her. I looked at the stars outside, and old wounds bled. I wanted to be free, but her shadow held me like chains, and I felt like I was suffocating under their weight. My soul was torn between anger and longing, and I didn't know which would win. A couple of months later, I got a message. "Ethan, it's Sophia. We need to talk." A year and a half of silence, and there she was. My heart pounded. My fingers froze over the screen. I felt the past crashing into my life like a hurricane, ready to destroy everything. I didn't reply right away, but curiosity, or something deeper, like an old wound, won out. We met at a cafe in downtown Cleveland, the same place we used to drink coffee and laugh. The smell of coffee and pastries was painfully familiar, and my heart clenched with memories. Sophia looked different. Pale, with dark circles under her eyes, but still beautiful, like in my dreams. She fidgeted with a napkin, staring at the table. Her voice trembled when she spoke. Her career in New York had crashed. The agency was toxic, her boss a tyrant. She worked 18-hour days, but her projects fell apart because of her colleagues' schemes. She said she'd made a mistake leaving, that she missed our life, missed me. She wanted to come back. I looked at her, torn between anger and pity. Anger screamed, "She destroyed you? Left you to die." Pity whispered, "She's broken, like you were." Her tear-filled eyes were like a mirror of my past, and I felt the old love trying to spark, like a dying ember. But her betrayal stood between us like an impassable, cold wall. I told her I needed time. She nodded, but there was something strange in her eyes, desperation mixed with resolve, like a predator ready to pounce. I left the cafe, my heart tearing apart. I didn't know this was just the start of her game, that she was ready to burn everything to get me back, or destroy me. A week later, Sophia started texting every day. Her messages were an emotional roller coaster, sweet, reminiscing about our nights together, then accusing. "I know you still love me," or "You don't get how bad I'm hurting. You owe me help." Every word was a jab, reopening old wounds, making my heart race with panic. I didn't reply, but I felt her creeping back into my life like poison, slowly tainting everything. My soul was screaming, but I didn't know how to stop it. One night she called. I answered without thinking, giving in to weakness. She was sobbing, saying she'd lost everything. Her job, her apartment, her friends. "You're the only one who ever got me," she said, her voice weak but laced with manipulation, like she knew exactly how to pull my strings. I told her to calm down, but her tone turned sharp. "If you don't give me a chance, I don't know what I'll do." It was a threat, subtle but clear, like a blade held to my throat. I hung up, but sleep didn't come. My heart pounded like I was running from danger, and the darkness around me thickened. The next day, I saw her car outside my apartment. She was sitting inside, staring at my windows, her silhouette like a ghost from the past. I didn't approach, but fear gripped my chest, like someone was squeezing my lungs. She wasn't just trying to come back. She was stalking me. Her regret was a mask-hiding obsession. I felt like a trapped animal, not knowing how to escape her web. The life I'd worked so hard to rebuild was cracking again. Soon, she showed up at the shop. Customers watched as she yelled, "You can't just erase me." Her voice shook with rage, her eyes burning like someone who'd lost everything. I pulled her aside, trying to calm her down, but she was like a woman possessed. She said she knew about my business, my successes. "You owe me a chance. We could be together." Her words weren't a plea. They were a demand, like I was her property. Anger rose in me like a volcano ready to erupt, but I held it together, refusing to give her power. I told her, "Sophia, I can't trust you." Her face twisted, her eyes narrowing like a predator ready to strike. "You'll regret this," she hissed and walked away, leaving a cold wind in her wake. I brushed it off, but that was a mistake that nearly cost me everything. A few days later, our shop's website was flooded with negative reviews. Clients complained about services we never provided. Scammers. "They ruined my car." I hired an IT guy, and he confirmed the reviews were fake, all from the same IP. Then the calls started. Anonymous voices threatening to shut down the business if I didn't fix my mistakes. I knew it was Sophia. She didn't just want to come back. She wanted to destroy everything I'd built. Her revenge was a knife in my back, and I felt the blood seeping from old wounds, my life crumbling again. I filed a police report, but there wasn't enough evidence. The business was hurting. Clients were leaving. Jack, my partner, was freaking out. "Ethan, what's going on?" I didn't know how to explain that my ex was out for blood, that her hatred had become my prison. Everything I'd built was falling apart, and fear mixed with rage. I couldn't let her win, but I didn't know how to stop this nightmare. My soul was screaming, but I was alone against her darkness. I couldn't sleep, replaying her threats in my head. I knew Sophia wouldn't stop, but I didn't know how far she'd go. Then I got a letter. Not an email, but a real one, in an envelope with no return address. Inside was a note. "Meet me at the old park by the river. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. You need to know the truth." No signature, but I recognized her handwriting. My heart pounded, a mix of fear and curiosity. What truth? My soul was torn between wanting to know and fearing it was a trap. I went to the park. It was deserted, lit only by dim streetlights. The cold wind off Lake Erie cut through me, and fear tightened my throat. I stood by the old bench where Sophia and I used to sit, laugh, dream. The memories cut like blades, and I almost left. But then she appeared from the darkness, in a long coat, her hair tangled by the wind. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying, but there was steel in them. She started talking. She said New York was hell, not just because of work. She'd gotten involved with someone who promised her success, but used her, lied to her, left her with nothing. She'd lost everything because she believed in a lie. "I thought you'd forgive me, Ethan. You were my home." Her voice shook, but I sensed a catch. Her words felt rehearsed, like a scene from a play. I asked, "Are you behind the reviews?" She went quiet, then looked away. "You left me alone," she whispered, her tone laced with venom. I realized she wasn't sorry. She blamed me, like I was the reason she fell. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm, her fingers digging into my skin. "You can't just walk away," she screamed, her voice raw with desperation and rage. I pulled free, anger surging through me like a storm ready to destroy everything. "You ruined us, Sophia, not me." I walked away, leaving her in the dark, but her stare burned into my back like a warning. I knew it wasn't over, that her revenge was only growing stronger. I decided to meet Sophia one last time to end this nightmare. I asked her to meet me at a park by Lake Erie, away from prying eyes. She showed up with a faint smile, like nothing had happened, but I saw cold determination in her eyes. I looked at her and didn't see the girl I loved, but a stranger obsessed with control, ready to burn everything to get what she wanted. I asked straight up, "Why are you doing this?" She played innocent, but her mask was cracking. I told her I knew about the fake reviews, the calls. Her smile vanished, her eyes flashing with fury like lightning in a storm. She started yelling, accusing me of ruining her life by not forgiving her. "You're nothing without me, Ethan." Her words were poison, but I didn't bite. I paused, my heart pounding like it was about to burst, but my voice was calm, cold as steel. "Sophia, I've got a new life. I'm seeing someone, We're happy, and I'm expecting a kid. It was a lie, but I wanted her to know I was free. I wanted her world to collapse like mine had. Her face went pale. She trembled, like I'd hit her. "You're lying," she whispered, her voice shaking with pain, with the realization she'd lost me for good. I looked into her eyes, feeling old wounds bleed, but I was stronger. "It's not your business anymore." She froze, her breath ragged like a cornered animal. Then she turned and walked away, her steps echoing in the quiet park. I knew it was over, but a storm raged inside me. Relief, pain, and the emptiness that still lived in me. After that, Sophia disappeared. The threats stopped. The reviews dried up. I hired a new marketer, and we rebuilt the shop's reputation. Clients came back, and Jack and I opened a second shop in the suburbs. I started breathing easier, for the first time in years. My heart, once torn apart, was starting to beat steady, but the scars stayed. I wasn't seeing anyone like I'd told Sophia, but her reaction showed me I wasn't her victim anymore. I closed that chapter, but her shadow lingered sometimes, in the scent of vanilla, in the sound of an old song. I looked forward, knowing I could build the life I'd dreamed of. The shop was thriving, my friends were there. I'd drive to Lake Erie often, watch the sunset, its golden light like a promise of a new life. For the first time, I was free. From her, from the past, from the pain. But sometimes in the quiet, I wondered, would I have forgiven her if she'd been different? There was no answer, and maybe that was my final freedom. Has someone you loved ever blackmailed you? Share your story in the comments.